Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
We are shifting gears a little bit today.
Yeah, a bit.
Usually, we're deep in the weeds of productivity hacks or dissecting some new piece of tech.
Or looking at hard data, spreadsheets, charts.
Exactly, hard data. But today, we're looking at something softer, but I'd argue it's much harder to actually get your hands on.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about wisdom.
Which is a massive topic. It's, usually the stuff of philosophy classes, not so much practical advice.
Exactly. And specifically, we're going to take a sledgehammer to a proverb that I guarantee every single person listening has heard.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard it from your parents, you've seen it in movies, and there's a very good chance you have seen it stitched onto a decorative pillow.
I know exactly which one you mean.
The idea is, with age comes wisdom.
It's a lovely, comforting thought, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests wisdom is this, inevitable byproduct of survival. Like, if you just manage to keep breathing for 70 or 80 years, the universe eventually hands you a certificate of enlightenment.
Right. It's the participation trophy model of human development.
That's a great way to put it.
It implies you don't really have to do anything except, well, wait. But today, we're diving into a reality check from a source that completely dismantles that idea.
Okay.
We're looking at a piece by Roberta Hill from her blog, Wanderlust Over 70, and the post is titled, The Trouble with Age, Experience, and Other Convenient Myths.
And I want to be clear right off the bat, even though the blog is called Wanderlust Over 70, this is not a travel guide.
No, not at all.
I mean, Roberta Hill is a serious traveler. She's been just about everywhere, but this piece isn't about, packing tips. It's a philosophical treatise on cognition.
That's a good word for it.
It's about how we learn, why we fail, and specifically the dangerous difference between expertise and actual experience.
That distinction, expertise versus experience, that is the core of what we're unpacking today. And for you listening, whether you're 25 and terrified of making a mistake or you're 55 and wondering why you just fell for a bad business deal, this is for you. This deep dive is about the mechanics of being wrong and how to get better at it.
And it all starts with what you called the pillow theory.
The pillow theory. I love that she calls it that.
It's great. She just attacks that with age comes wisdom idea immediately. Calls it a convenient myth that sounds neat stitched on a pillow.
But collapses the second you test it in the real world.
Exactly. Her argument is that getting older doesn't make you wiser. It just gives you more opportunities to see things.
And what you do with those opportunities is a completely different variable.
Totally different.
She actually flips the script on how we view mistakes.
Right.
Culturally, especially now, we try to protect young people from failure.
Helicopter parents, bumpers on the bowling lanes, all that.
Right. And Hill says that is completely backwards. She argues that the big, messy, disastrous mistakes belong in your 20s.
It's a provocative stance, but her logic holds up. She says that in youth, consequences sting, but they don't scar.
Sting, but don't scar.
It's just a function of recovery time and resilience. When you're 20, you can lose money, you can trust the wrong person, you can sleep on a floor for a month, you bounce back.
It's about the stakes. The same mistake at 20 might cost you a week of bad food.
Right. But at 50, it might cost you your retirement.
Exactly.
She calls that process in youth recalibration. You take the hit, you realize the world works differently than you thought, and you move on slightly wiser and a lot more alert.
So if you prevent those stinging mistakes early on, you enter adulthood with a very fragile understanding of risk.
You haven't built the immunity.
And she gives us a really visceral example of this. We have to talk about the grease scam.
The classic rite of passage.
Totally. This is Roberta Hill, early 20s, backpacking through Europe.
And she pays what she calls the tuition fee.
She gets scammed out of $60. Now, I can hear people listening thinking, $60, that's an Uber ride and a sandwich.
Yeah. But we have to adjust for inflation and, context here.
Context is everything. To a 20-year-old backpacker in the 70s, $60 wasn't disposable income. That was survival money.
Oh, absolutely. She breaks it down. That was meals, bus tickets.
Or a night or two of freedom. Losing it meant she was grounded. It meant the trip literally changed.
But the part that really grabbed me wasn't the financial loss, it was the psychology of it. She describes this hot mix of embarrassment and irritation.
That is the universal flavor of being conned, isn't it?
It is. It's not just anger about the cash, it's the ego hit.
Yeah.
It's that sudden realization that you were just an actor in someone else's play. You thought you were making a friend, and actually you were just the mark.
It's that feeling of, how could I be so stupid?
Right. But because she was young, the recovery was transactional, and this part is crucial. She says she felt stupid, she was mad, but she learned the mechanic of it.
Watch your wallet. Don't trust that specific setup.
Yep. It stung, but she didn't stop traveling. She just became tighter, adjusted her baseline.
Okay, so that's the baseline. Young, broke, gets scammed, learns a lesson. But then she fast forwards. And this is where the narrative really shifts.
Right, because according to the pillow theory, she should be immune to this stuff by now. She's older, wiser.
And she wasn't. This is the brave part of the piece. She admits to falling for a scam well into her experienced years.
And not on the street. It was a professional setting.
This is the nightmare scenario for a lot of us. It involved an online working colleague.
Someone she knew, someone she trusted. And notice the difference in the hook.
How so?
The grease scam was brute force distraction and theft. This was sophisticated. It relied on what we call affinity fraud. The scammer spoke the language of collaboration, shared goals.
She has this one line that I think explains so much of corporate failure. She says she assumed shared work meant shared values.
That is a line that should be on a Post-it note on every monitor.
It's so true.
It's a massive cognitive bias. We're wired to trust people in our tribe. If they use our jargon, if they complain about the same industry problems, our defenses just drop.
They're one of us.
Exactly. And it turned out to be a pyramid scheme.
A pyramid scheme, which, when you say it out loud, sounds so...
Ridiculous. Cliche.
It sounds like a cliche of bad judgment. And she fell for it.
She did. And she's brutal with herself about it. She calls it a total failure of due diligence. But the aftermath was different.
Different from Greece.
Very. The $60 in Greece was annoying. She says the embarrassment lingered longer.
Why do you think that is? Is it just the stakes were higher?
I don't think it's the money. I think it's the expectation. When you're older, you just have less tolerance for your own naivety. You feel like you should have the radar for this stuff.
So you beat yourself up more.
Way more. She says she replayed the tape over and over, looking for the moment she missed. She was haunting her own memory.
And she realizes something important during that autopsy. She says there was no villain twirling a mustache.
Which is the hardest part to accept, isn't it? We want our villains to look like villain.
We want the bad deal to look scary, like a dark alley.
But in the professional world, the bad deal looks like a great opportunity. The villain looks like a helpful colleague.
So she has these two data points, the Grease scam and the pyramid scheme. And she uses them to draw this line between two concepts we use interchangeably, expertise and experience.
And most people do think they're synonyms. But Hill tears them apart. This is the core argument of the whole piece.
Right.
We tend to think of an expert as the highest form of knowledge, but she defines expertise as mastery, certainty.
Like the person who wrote the textbook.
Exactly. The expert has the manual. They say, this is how the system works. It's declarative. It's loud, confident.
Okay. And experience.
Experience is messy. She describes it as quieter, less tidy. She says true experience comes with caveats and footnotes.
Caveats and footnotes. I like that. So the difference between a theory and reality.
Precisely. The expert says, if you do A, then B will happen. The experienced person says, well, usually B happens, but I saw it go to C once in 1998, and there was that one time it turned into D, so maybe let's just be careful.
So it sounds like experience is actually less confident than expertise.
It's less arrogant. Hill describes the physical sensation of experience not as jumping in with an answer, but as an instinctive pause.
The instinctive pause.
Yes. Before you sign the contract, before you agree to the trip, it's that split-second hesitation where your brain just goes, wait.
And that pause isn't fear. It's the data kicking in.
That's it. So if she doesn't claim to be an expert, what does she claim to have?
She calls it pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition. It sounds almost algorithmic, like machine learning.
In a way, it is. She argues that wisdom isn't knowing facts. It's about noticing when a situation feels familiar in the wrong way.
Recognizing the shape of a mistake?
The shape of a mistake.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating visual, because mistakes do have silhouettes, don't they?
They absolutely do. The content changes. Sometimes it's $60, sometimes it's stock options, but the outline is the same.
The underlying structure of the con or the failure stays constant.
And Hill categorizes these shapes, travel patterns and work patterns, and then, this is the brilliant part, she overlays them.
Shows us that a scam in a market in India has the exact same DNA as a bad corporate merger.
Exactly.
Okay, let's break these down because I want people to be able to spot these shapes. Let's start with travel patterns. What are the red flags?
The first one is the too helpful stranger.
We've all met this person. You look confused and suddenly they just appear.
Right. You're lost, looking at a map, and someone just sweeps in. They're charismatic. They speak great English. They want to show you the real city.
And it feels rude to say no. That's the trap.
That's the weapon. They weaponize your politeness, but the pattern is unsolicited assistance usually comes with a price tag.
Then there's the urgency pattern. The deal that only exists for the next 10 minutes.
Urgency is the classic sales tactic. My rule is, if I have to decide now, the answer is no.
That should be a law of physics. High urgency usually masks low value.
Right. And the third travel pattern is the story that doesn't quite line up with the map. The narrative says one thing, but reality says another.
So how do these translate to the office, to our work lives?
Hill says work scams are just travel scams, dressed up in better language and nicer fonts.
Nicer fonts. That is so painfully accurate.
It's true. Take the too helpful stranger. In the corporate world, that's the consultant or vendor who promises to solve all your problems before they even understand your business. Too eager.
And the urgency pattern is everywhere. Sign by end of quarter to get the discount.
Exactly. False urgency to force a bypass of due diligence. But the most insidious one, and this connects back to her pyramid scheme, is what she calls borrowing credibility.
Talk to me about that. What does that look like?
It's when someone defines themselves by their associations, not their output. They name drop, they use buzzwords, they align themselves with reputable people, but they haven't actually done the work.
So they're standing next to the monument, claiming they built it.
Perfect analogy. In the pyramid scheme, the colleague used the language of success, the we're all in this together vibe, but there was no product. There was no there there.
So the goal is to build this pattern recognition engine. To see a guy in a suit and realize he's just the guy in Greece trying to steal $60. But how do we build it? Can you shortcut it?
Hill implies the answer is no. You can't just read about it. And this is the exhausting part. She identifies two requirements for wisdom: repetition and attention.
Let's look at repetition. Because Roberta Hill's travel history, it's expensive.
It's a massive data set. The mighty 5 national parks, the Taj Mahal, the Golden Circle in Oahu, Portugal.
She's been everywhere.
Right. So when she talks about repetition, she means she has placed herself in novel, unpredictable environments thousands of times.
She has fed the machine.
Exactly. It's like training an AI. You can't have pattern recognition without data points. Every bus ride, every border crossing, every hotel check-in is a data point.
So you have to get out there. You can't build experience in a safe room.
No, you have to handle the friction. But, and here is the critical but, repetition alone is useless without the second factor: attention.
Because we all know people who have traveled everywhere and learned nothing.
Or people who have been in the same job for 20 years and are still making the same mistakes from year one.
Yeah.
That is repetition without attention.
So what does attention look like in this context?
It's the willingness to admit. This goes back to the pyramid scheme. Hill says the hardest part of wisdom is admitting, painfully, that I had seen this pattern before and I ignored it.
Oh, that hits home.
Yeah.
How many times do we get that little feeling in our gut, that instinctive pause, and we just override it?
We override it because we want the deal to be real, or we don't want to be rude, or we don't want to look cynical.
We prioritize social comfort over survival instincts.
Exactly. The tragedy of her pyramid scheme story isn't that she didn't know better. It's that she did know better. The alarm bells were ringing somewhere in the basement of her brain.
But she let the nicer fonts fool her.
And wisdom is the discipline to listen to that quiet signal, even when it's inconvenient.
It's interesting that she positions experience as something that removes certainty rather than adding it.
That's the paradox. The novice is certain because they don't know the risks. The expert is certain because they trust the system. The experienced person is cautious because they know the system breaks.
It's the difference between knowing the rules of the road and knowing that the guy in the red sports car is probably going to cut you off.
That is it. The expert knows the speed limit is 65. The experienced driver knows the pattern of aggressive driving. Roberta Hill is the driver who lifts her foot off the gas 3 seconds before the accident happens.
Because she saw the shape of it coming.
Yes.
So let's bring this down to the ground for everyone listening. How do we apply this pattern recognition philosophy to our lives this week?
First, value the sting. If you're young or new to a job, stop trying to be perfect. go get stung.
Lose the $60.
Lose the $60,
Yeah.
make the bad pitch. As long as it doesn't scar, that's cheap tuition. You're buying data points. You're filling the database.
And for those of us who are a bit further along, who maybe feel like we should be experts by now,
Humble yourself. Stop relying on your title. Stop looking for the expert answer and start looking for the patterns. When you get a proposal, ask yourself, does this feel like the too helpful stranger?
does this person have earned credibility or are they just borrowing it?
Right. Strip away the fonts, strip away the jargon, and look at the mechanics. Is there false urgency? If the answer is yes, trust the pause.
Even if it makes you look slow or annoying.
Especially if it makes you look slow. Speed is the enemy of wisdom. That pause is your pattern recognition engine trying to save you.
It's a liberating way to view getting older, isn't it? It's not about becoming a dusty encyclopedia. It's about becoming a highly tuned radar system.
A radar system calibrated by thousands of miles and a few painful mistakes. That is what true experience is. It's not authority, it's just better navigation.
Better navigation. I love that. And I think her journey shows that the only way to get that navigation is to keep moving.
She never stopped traveling. She got scammed, she learned, she packed her bag and went to the next place. That's the only way you get the repetition.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. We've talked about the shape of a mistake.
It's a powerful concept.
I want everyone listening to think about their last week. Was there a moment where you felt that instinctive pause, that little hesitation before saying yes?
And if you did you listen to it? Or did you push it down because the slide deck looked pretty?
That's the question.
Oh.
Are there areas in your life right now where you are ignoring the shape of a mistake just because it's dressed up in a suit?
Next time you feel that pause, treat it like gold. That isn't fear. That's your pattern recognition engine trying to save you $60 or a whole lot more.
Huge thanks to Roberta Hill and her blog, Wanderlust Over 70, for providing the roadmap for today's discussion. It's a fantastic read.
Highly recommended.
And thank you for listening. Keep learning, keep traveling, even if it's just to the next office cubicle. And keep watching for those patterns. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Stay curious.